Welcome. You've splash landed into this Prosecco-laden podcast, straight into the woo-woo pool with the crew of Ohm-g. We're just a simple group of tragically imperfect and highly empathic BFFs, exploring a wide range of atypical topics with humor, grace, and curiosity. This is Ohm-g. Welcome. Today, the return of shadow work. The Woo crew has some things to say about our recent experiences after joining a course taught by our good friend Joanna the Healer. It ain't sunshine and roses, but it's truth. You're here with the crew of
Ohm-g, the podcast. Welcome back, everybody.
Welcome back, friends. This is Brenda Sue here.
This is Camille.
This is Chandra.
And this is Lynn coming to you from my house.
Yeah, today is a snow day here, and where Lynn lives, I think they got more snow than we got. And it's been cold overnight, so the roads were quite treacherous by her house. She sent us a picture this morning.
Yes.
She tried to come, but there were cars in the ditch, and she was like, "No, y'all, I'm gonna go home." So we miss you being here, Lynn.
And I miss being there as well. But at least I can see your pretty faces.
Yay! Okay, if that's what you want to call it. So we're going to talk about shadow work again today because I feel like this is coming to the forefront for so many people. I had a lady who's a friend of mine that I started on the spiritual path with doing spirit circles with Bob Benz, who was my teacher. And she and I got together and we were talking about shadow work. And then I have another client that I've been seeing for several years now, off and on, when she needs some energy work. And I got a text message and all I read was, I could see the first part pop up. I just recently learned about shadow work. And I'm like, oh boy, here we go, y'all.
New phone, who dis?
Yeah. So she's coming to see me next week, and I guess we'll dive into shadow work for her. But I feel like this is coming up for a lot of people because we need to address the shadows within ourselves so that we can evolve as we want to do. I want to evolve. I want to be a better person. And I think more people are being called to look at these things collectively because of all of the shadows that are coming up in the world right now. I mean, there's a lot of things going down and the shadows are being exposed, so to speak. So let's talk about Joanna and what we have been doing with her. So we started a class back in mid-October, wasn't it?
Sounds right.
We did like a 7-week, once a week intensive getting together, having these conversations, doing the work with her. And then it's all been coming up for us in different ways of things that we need to work on. And so I would like to say one thing before we pop off on this conversation.
Say it.
So I didn't get to go to or listen to the entire part of the last live session. I had to go to work, but I listened to it on replay yesterday and it was so good. And I hate that I missed being there in person because I felt like there was a lot of good work that everybody did together. And then it's also so fun to listen to it and like hear my friends talking on there. And it makes me feel kind of like I'm there a little bit. And Chandra, like we had to do an automatic writing exercise.
Yeah.
And
Joanna led us through like a meditation.
right.
And then you were supposed to, based on what you saw and what you saw or you felt or you were told in that guided meditation, then like just start writing and see what came out. It was really interesting.
And it was not supposed to be for you. It was supposed to be for somebody else. And whenever I heard Chandra start talking, I was like, oh my God, she just straight up channeled that.
Mm-hmm.
It was so powerful that it made me ache on the inside.
Well, and I could tell because I could barely read it for cry. Like everything in me just wanted to sob.
Yeah. So
as I was trying to read it.
It was really powerful. And I don't know who you were channeling, but I think that I think channeling is going to be coming online for a lot more people through this process of like tapping in with these guides and helpers that Joanna works with, especially. I think there's going to be more more spontaneous channeling, which should be very interesting, don't you think, ladies?
Well, and I feel like she does it so effortlessly, or at least I'm sure it doesn't feel like that for her or for Joanna, but to the layperson watching her do it, it looks like she does it so effortlessly. I can't imagine that there wouldn't be like just a ton of channelers drawn to her, like people to, even if it's latent in them, just like the similar vibration, the similar energy, just to kind of like be in her orbit. I feel like her orbit would be just full of, I don't mean it this way, but wannabe channelers, people who are going that direction.
Yeah, I agree with that. 100%.
Being broke in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because I think was she talking about that in this last live about channelers? Or was this her weekly video? Y'all know we talk about Joanna the Healer all the time. And hopefully we'll have her come on again to talk about the academy that we're all part of.
I think it was one of the zodiac signs that you and I share.
Oh, okay.
Was talking about channeling.
Okay. Either Gemini or Aries.
Yeah.
I don't remember which one.
I think it was Aries.
Anyway, I think that these gifts are going to be coming online for a lot more people moving forward, because there's people out there that need to hear what is being said. So the people that you need to communicate with will be drawn to you.
Yeah.
So does anybody want to talk about what's going on for them with this whole, dreams? I've had some really interesting dreams of old situations that have come up that I'm working through again. That's fun.
Yeah, a lot of it has definitely been delving into the past, especially for me. And I feel like the outcome is to help me practice detachment from certain family members, from friends, from former colleagues. It's just been very, very enlightening. And the funniest thing that happened to me during this process in Joanna's class, a distant cousin sent me a picture that someone had given her, an actual photo that she took a picture of from like 1974. And it was me as a 5-year-old sitting on my mother's lap at a party looking absolutely miserable, and like the weight of the world was on my shoulders. And it evoked so many old emotions and so much sadness in me. And that was around the time that my parents were getting a divorce. And my life went from perfectly normal, scheduled, to absolute chaos. And why then? It was very, very strange, but it brought up a lot of stuff when I felt like things weren't really gelling for me. And it kind of took off from there. So it's definitely been a ride and a trip, and it's led me to everything from certain videos to certain conversations. And all I can say is thank you, damn it, and thank you.
Yeah. For me, it's been more of a realization of, because I've always had this preconceived notion of like what shadow work is and what inner child work should be and all these things. And it's like, you sit down with a journal, with a shadow work journal, and it's like, what does this bring up for you? Not a damn thing. Like I'm sitting there in the moment and I can't go deep enough, I guess, with it. But then you'll be in the shower or cooking dinner and you'll be thinking about something, and all of a sudden, all this, like a realization about a situation that you thought about 500 times, and now there's this new realization about it out of nowhere.
Yep.
But still embracing that you are, quote unquote, doing the work, even though, you sit down with your little journal and you feel, for lack of a better way to say it, feel like such a failure because nothing comes up, and it's like, I'm not doing this work. I can't do this thing. But then letting it come up when it comes up, and not judging it, not fighting it, not being any preconceived idea of how it's going to happen has been a big lesson for me.
Yeah, I think shadow work is basically having the triggers or the realizations and working with it as it comes in. So it's a lot about self-awareness more than like you said, sitting down with a journal, like that. You're not always going to be triggered in that moment of the things that you need to work on. Yeah. So anyway, you can work with a practitioner that can help you. But a lot of it is just having self-awareness. Sometimes it helps to have somebody to talk it through with, even.
Mhm.
Like maybe they don't help you, quote unquote, but they can help you have realizations about what's going on.
Or validate your experience, or just help you see a different perspective so that you can put some non-judgmental distance around the thing of whatever that happened.
Lynn, friend, what would you like to add over there in your neck of the woods?
She got stuff. You know, she
Well,
got stuff.
I got a lot of stuff. The biggest thing that Joanna's class has brought up for me is vulnerability. And that is, ouch is a really good word. I've had a difficult couple of weeks trying to deal with it. I don't like it.
Doesn't it suck when that stuff happens and you're like, not only did I sign up for this, but I paid money and now I'm getting what I signed up for and
In spades.
fuck it all.
Yeah. It's been an interesting few weeks realizing that for me, that the feeling of vulnerability makes me feel very weak. And I don't like feeling that way.
Same.
Yeah, that's what I'm currently working on.
Yeah, I think most people don't like feeling vulnerable or feeling weak. So I think that's a very valid feeling to have whenever those situations come up that make you feel that way. But being able to work through it and still be open, I think, is really good work too, even though it's hard. And also, you Aries sextuplet friend of mine, being so independent, you think that you can do everything by yourself. I got this. I can do it. I know you can.
I can.
But the thing is you don't have to.
That's what they say. But
do it. Just don't make me feel it.
Yeah, and that's the part I'm working on, because me feeling vulnerability is hard for me to, I'm not sure the right word for it, like to let people know how deeply I actually do feel, because I need to shut that off so that I don't get hurt from being vulnerable.
Mhm.
That's my, it makes me feel like I'm in quicksand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But, feeling the emotional ups and downs, whether it's being hurt or betrayed or whatever, that's also part of the human experience. And
it is, and it sucks.
Yeah, it does. But there's also lessons in those situations usually too, which also suck. But I'm going to shut up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. I'm not real sure what else to say about it. Like, it's a work in progress. I'll say that. It's difficult.
I'm also going to throw out there, Lynn, and obviously this goes for you as well, Brenda. When you do the kind of work that you do, when your clients and the people that you spend time with day after day, what you do is bring out the vulnerability in them. And if you do not have a wall up, you're going to be a slobbering, blubbering empath mess on the floor at day's end. So you kind of have to construct that level of protection around you in order to do work like this and to help other people find their vulnerability. And I'm also going to add, this really wise astrologer that I love put in a book one time, so many people do not want to be vulnerable because they think if other people see this weakness, they're going to step all over it. When in reality, if you're brave enough to show other people your vulnerability, they will usually step aside and give you a wider berth and a little more caring. So I needed to hear that when I read it, and hopefully that helps for you as well.
Yeah. Well, it seems that every time that I show vulnerability, that's when I feel like I get stepped on. So that's the shadow part that I'm trying to figure out where it came from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then do you think, like, I feel like we're talking this out here and somebody that's listening is going to relate to this. Do you think that, too, when we always expect it, then it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy that you can be like, oh, yeah, well, that's what I should have expected because that's what always happens?
Oh, 100%, because it's the law of resonance. And if that's the vibration that you're putting out, that's exactly what you're going to get back. So uncovering that for me is like I'm trying to uncover what makes me stay in the vibration of expectance. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
For sure. And,
Yeah.
the one thing I wonder about sometimes is like, in a situation like you're talking about, Lynn, where you show vulnerability and you're expecting for hurt to come from somewhere. But in any situation, is there going to be 3, 4, 5 different things that happen? And if you were able to just put your expectation onto something different, I'm expecting to see somebody show up and help me in my vulnerability. Yeah, the same thing is going to happen. And this thing that would have happened that would cause you hurt is still going to happen over here on the left-hand side. But because you're looking for someone to show up and help you in your vulnerability, that's going to show up over here on the right-hand side. And because that's what you're expecting to see, that's where your attention's going to go. Even though this thing over here happened and is still going to happen and will continue to happen because it's just like the mechanization of the universe. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's one of the things I wonder is if you get to the point where you are able to anticipate or expect or look for a different outcome, will you then start to experience that outcome, even though your previous perception still happens around you? It's just not what you're expecting to see anymore. And therefore your attention doesn't go toward it as much as it goes to the other thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that's what would happen. It's just kind of like one of the rabbit holes that my mind goes down sometimes. I wonder if, like, is that how we, quote unquote, co-create? I don't know. Maybe.
I don't know. Maybe.
Well, I mean, if our thoughts create our reality, then why can't you have a different thought that would create a different outcome?
Right.
I mean,
Right.
maybe.
But you have to uncover, well, you have to uncover.
Yes.
You have to uncover and heal the part of you that expects someone to step on you when you're vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Amen.
And when you heal that part, then you do start looking for a different outcome because that's healed within you.
Right.
Or at least that's how I think it works. But I ain't there yet, so I don't know.
So as we're wondering and questioning these things, how do you think that we get to the root of that? Do we have to know where it begins in order to really uncover it and look at it? And it's probably not just like a one-time flipping a switch, but do you think that it helps? Do we think, everybody sitting here, that it helps to understand the beginning, the origins of the story?
I think so. Like, I don't think you have to figure out which wound or how it, I don't think you have to uncover every aspect, but I think you have to uncover the why do you carry that?
And I
Yep.
definitely
I think.
think other people are put in our lives to pick at that scab that we have and help us
Mhm.
uncover it. I mean,
I think
I am
so.
a believer when it comes to that.
For sure.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Ew.
For sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
So I have a question. And this, I guess I call it a realization, for lack of a better word, came up for me the last time my husband and I were in Sedona. And it keeps coming up as we go through the shadow work class, because looking back on childhood and where trying to decipher, like, where did this wound come from? What triggers this wound? There have been so many times in my life as just growing up the way that I did, and now being able to put pieces together of like the whole neurodivergent piece, that, just being labeled as quote unquote different your whole life.
yeah,
Even though in a lot of those times it wasn't necessarily like a negative, it was like the academically gifted classes, but you were still different.
right.
Right. And just all the things that come with it. And then you start to uncover things like executive dysfunction and rejection sensitivity. And they're things that you've been programmed to really deeply not like about yourself because you were told they were wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It's wrong to be that way. You can't. And you felt it so deeply, and you were told, well, just get over it. Because I can just get over it. Why can't you just get over it? Well, because I'm different. Oh, there again. Okay, I'm different. And it just becomes like the snowball effect of,
Well, you can change that. You don't have to be different, young lady.
right. And just you get to this point of where there's just so much that you really don't like about yourself. But in Sedona, I was thinking about these things, and it's like, but it's a human experience. I'm not this body. I'm a soul.
Yep.
Can I do I have to, part of shadow work is like accepting these things about yourself with non-judgment and integrating them. But does that mean I have to become okay with them and like them? Or is that spiritual? If I just say, I don't like this about myself, and I don't have to because it's part of my human experience, and I'm at the highest level, not this quote unquote human being. Can I accept that I don't like that about myself and then move on? Like, don't stop judging it. Just like there's an aspect of this being a human that I don't prefer. I don't like it. I'm never going to like it. But then I wonder, okay, is that spiritual bypassing?
It's a good question.
And that's one of the things I don't have an answer for yet.
Me either.
Okay.
I don't know if it is or not. I mean, it depends on, I guess, what the thing is, and does it affect your life? Or is it just a thought that doesn't have any effect on like how you are with other people or how you are able to be successful in life or not successful in life? Are they things that are limiting you? Or are they just like these little nagging like parts of being a human that you can be like, okay. But if you're saying you don't like it, then you're still judging it. So I don't know. I don't know what the answer to that is.
Right. Do you just say, well, this is who I am in this lifetime and grab the sunshine and the Prosecco and go outside and watch the birds? I mean, I don't know.
Interesting. I don't know either.
And the thing is, it's something I really want to broach with Joanna, but I haven't come up with an example that I can give her to like fully explain what I'm talking about. Because I know it's, even though it makes sense in my own mind, when even now trying to explain it to you guys and put it into words, it doesn't do it justice, right? And trying to find a way to explain the scenario of what I'm talking about to her to try to get her opinion or her advice on that. I'm still working on that. If Spirit will give me the example, I'll be glad to broach that with her. I'd really like to know her opinion on it. But
So I have a question for everybody. What makes you feel really, really vulnerable? And I'll start so you can think. One of my top things is the thought of running out of money or having no security or having to rely on someone else or ask someone else for help when it comes to that. If life is swimming along beautifully and the bank account is looking fine, and all of a sudden, here comes tax time, here comes an unwelcome vet bill, here comes a car thing, that sends me into an internal tizzy, even though I know in the bottom of my heart, universe has got me, everything's going to be all right. It's always been all right. I'm lucky. That still makes me feel smaller than you could ever imagine.
I have to agree with you with that, like not having money to do things or being dependent on somebody else also brings up a lot of vulnerability for me.
Mhm.
And I've had to work through that again. I'm still working on it of asking for help whenever I need help. I hate that,
Ugh.
especially monetarily. I don't mind asking for help with small things. But
Right.
monetarily, it really bothers me.
Because it makes you feel like, well, you missed the bar,
right.
You haven't prepped, you haven't planned.
Well, but we're also so programmed to measure success by the amount of money that we have.
Bingo.
So if you don't have enough money, then you're not a successful human being. I mean, that's a programming thing that we all deal with too.
I think there's a woman wound in there as well.
Probably.
Yeah.
I would say mine is ever getting to the point where I can't rely on myself for support. Because every other support system in my life has at some point broken down until this point in my life. I've got a lot of support in my life now that hasn't broken down, and I'm not expecting to break down. But like historically, and when we're talking about like childhood wounds and shadow work and where your shit comes from, just like historically and through childhood and through young adulthood, there being a lack of support. I always had to like rely on myself, rely on. Luckily, I was smart enough to figure it out. Luckily, I was healthy enough to work it out. Luckily, I was, all those things. I feel most vulnerable when I think about like aging and getting to a point where I'm not going to be able to rely on myself to
Preach.
there's going to come a point in my time where I'm not going to be able to be hypervigilant. Then what am I going to do?
Yeah.
When I can't wipe my own bottom, what's going to happen?
Right.
Exactly.
Take me out.
Or when I can't
Shut me
balance my own checkbook, or when I can't see to pay my own bill because it's all online and, it's all digital money now and you can't blah, 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 blah.
Or drive to the grocery store for milk and bread. I mean, it just, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
That's the one that makes me feel the most vulnerable.
How about you, Miss Lynn? Anything to add to that?
It's probably the same. It's just like relying on anyone else makes me feel extremely vulnerable.
Must be
And also
generational.
feelings. So,
yeah. I think a lot of that is definitely a generational thing because we are the Generation X
Mm-hmm.
with one foot in the past and one foot with women's empowerment and always trying to keep up.
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think the whole feelings thing, Lynn, that comes with just being able to share with people like that you trust, and then seeing that it's safe to share your true feelings, and then just working through it like that. I don't know if there's any magic pill to just do it.
Yeah, I wish there was a magic pill. And it's funny that you say that because when Chandra was talking a minute ago, Spirit was coming in hot and I was over here writing just as hard as I could write and about my problem with being vulnerable. And it's why I'm such a private person and I don't tell people a lot of things that go on with me, because what I've learned is that when I share with people, they don't keep my confidences. And so that's been a theme from the time I was a child, even telling my mother something and asking her not to tell my dad. And then she went and told that,
That's a big one.
So, yeah.
There's being seen and then there's being seen too much.
Oh, and then there's being perceived, just like
Oh.
being seen on steroids.
Yeah, all of that. So, yay, Spirit.
Good times. Good times. Thanks, Joanna. We appreciate your class so much.
Thanks, Brenda's choice.
Yeah.
Love shadow work. Next.
All right.
Well, but it's just hearing someone else's experience, and that just people being willing to go in the dark and root it out and try to bring in more light. Hopefully that's going to help someone see that, yeah, it's not fun and yeah, does it suck? But it's not as, I can, just speaking for myself, 5 years ago when I started on the spiritual journey and started hearing about shadow work, and, I thought it would break me. I thought there's no way I would be able to do this. Does it suck? Yes. Is it as scary as I thought it would be? No, it's not. And will definitely give a lot of credit to the fact that I have a great support system around me. And I have you wonderful witches to like bitch and moan to and go, am I going crazy? But still, it's not as scary as I originally thought it was going to be when I started my journey. So hopefully that will help anybody out there.
And I think this being part of this group that we are a part of with our friends here has brought up a lot of shadow work for each of us to work through with each other in our relationships. And we've stuck it out even when there's been some difficult times. And so I appreciate you all for also helping me with my shadow work and for being there to support me through times that have been difficult with relationships, because relationships will put it right in your face. The shadow work will come right in your face. Friendships, romantic relationships, any kind of work relationships, whatever it might be.
Karen at the grocery store, all of it.
All of those things that brings up the shadows for us to face. So on that note, lucky listeners,
we're glad we could inspire you today.
Good luck. Check out Joanna the Healer on YouTube, because she has been a sense of inspiration for our group for several years now. So take care of yourselves. If you need any help or support, please reach out to us. We would love to be a place of support and love here for you. So take care. Peace out. Bye-bye.
Till next time. Bye-bye.
Ciao, ciao.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you for joining us today. Please follow and subscribe to our podcast on Apple, Stitcher, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts, and leave a review. It's so easy to do and such a huge help for us. We appreciate your interactions so much. Want to join us at our table? Make sure to check out our YouTube channel and join our Facebook community. If you've enjoyed this content and wish to support us, take a look at our Patreon page. All information and links will be in our podcast description. Catch you next time.
This podcast is part of the Sound Advice FM network. Sound Advice FM. Women's voices amplified.